What's going on, guys? This is Miasin. So this weekend we had the remote duel YCS in both North America and Europe, and even though I didn't top, this event was actually really good for me for several reasons. So first of all, every single one of my opponents was extremely nice. Like, there's literally no way to explain it, but everyone was really freaking awesome. I got to make some new friends. I had some huge conversations with people I've never even met in real life either. And I got to play against a friend I haven't seen in a while, which is Hisam. So if you're watching this, shoutouts to you. You also made top 16, which is insane. Yeah, good luck in 1 month in the playoffs. And by the way, this is like one of the only YCSs in my life where I actually played a really standard meta deck with literally no spice in it. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm just allergic to standard decks that everybody plays. I always kind of want to be different because I feel like if you're playing whatever other people are playing, when you are playing against a player who's just as skillful as you are, it kind of becomes a battle of luck, which I'm not really a big fan of. The deck that I played was Tenyi Sword Soul, which was actually really good, and I firmly believe, even though I didn't top, that it is the best deck in the entire format, and if I didn't misplay twice like a freaking idiot, I probably would have had that top guaranteed. And my misplays were pretty bad too. My first misplay was in a game 3 that made me lose the full match, and my second misplay was in a game 1 where I actually had game. I could have killed my opponent, but I couldn't solve like a mathematical puzzle because I was under like so many locks. The worm lock, the freaking shaman lock, which prevented me from using effects from monster summon from the extra deck, which is kind of annoying. And also I just had like kind of a weird hand in a way, a lot of redundant cards, 2 cards that basically just did nothing in a 6-card hand. But overall, I really had it. If I didn't mess that one up, the game 2 would have been completely different because the game 2, I went first, I go Desires, I get ashed, my tie A is my only play, I get impermed, I have to pass, and I get killed, of course, because that's not good enough. Yeah, if I won that game 1, we at least would have went into a game 3, and that game 3 I could have won, so that's actually what I try to tell myself every time. It is very satisfying to know that you lost because of misplays that are controllable instead of losing to your deck bricking or just RNG in the format, because the last remote duel YCS that I played, I was playing Sky Striker, which in theory is a really good deck, and in practice in dueling book, I always do extremely well with Sky Striker. My win rate is actually the highest when I play that deck, and I don't get like super unlucky, but in the remote duel YCS, there were some matches where I believe I didn't see Ray in a single opening hand in my 3 games. It was ridiculous. Like, the luckiest I was some games was drawing Rose 3 turns later and having to grind it out like crazy. So I was just getting way too unlucky, but with Sword Soul Tenyi, I was getting some pretty good hands because the deck was extremely consistent, and also the advantage that the deck has is that it actually goes first on game 1 blind. So if your opponent doesn't have hand traps, you might just have some free wins, whereas Brandish, you're always trying to break boards, so obviously you always have to use your brain, and I'm kind of monkey brain. I don't want to actually work, Bernard. Whatever, okay, you get the point. But yeah, I started out 5-1 with Tenyi Sword Soul in this remote duel YCS, which is really good, and then I lost 2 straight, whatever, all good in the hood. Like I said, my opponents were freaking nice, and Hisam actually top 16'd, which is good. Yeah, I want my opponents, the people who I beat and lose to always do well. First of all, because they're freaking sick, and because good tiebreakers, right? Anyways, now let's jump into my deck profile. Alrighty, so this is the deck list that I've used for this remote duel YCS, which is Sword Soul Tenyi. So I was actually main decking the Archnemesis Protoss. Even when you don't know what your opponent is playing, I think it is very correct to just call Dark, because you actually can call Dark even though it cannot be destroyed by card effects, since the keyword also means that you don't have to successfully destroy at least 1 monster to resolve the second part of the effect, which is the lock of neither player can special summon dark monsters for the rest of the turn. Well, the monster of the called attribute. However, you cannot call an attribute that isn't on the field, just like you cannot dark hole when there are no monsters on the field. You can't just attempt to use an effect that does nothing, even though you are really trying to go for the second part of the effect. The also doesn't allow you to completely cheat out that very first part of the effect. You still have to legally be able to activate that first part. So a lot of people actually try to cheat with Protoss, so some people think it is even better than it actually is, but it's not. So if you realize that, and if you actually play clean, this shouldn't be a problem if you're playing against Protoss, and if you are playing Protoss, watch out to not unintentionally cheat against people. But yeah, this card was still really good. Of course, when you know what your opponent is playing post game 1 or whatever, then then this card becomes even more broken because against Sliverless Tri-Brigade, you call Wind, they can't do anything. In the Sword Soul Tenyi matchup, you call Water, and they can never summon a token monster because even the Tai A and Long Yuan, they still summon water tokens. So that's actually really, really bad. So your opponent can only play with Tenyi cards because you can still make level 8 synchros or whatever, any other play with just Tenyi monsters, which is pretty good. Yeah, pretty nice move, but whatever. Anyways, for the handshafts, I'm playing 3 Ash, 3 Veiler, 3 Imperm. Veiler and Imperm are like probably the best against actual competitive decks, whereas Ash is a little like it's kind of sussy, but Ash is good against rogue decks, so that's kind of nice. Negates like spells and traps too, which is good because Veiler and Imperm are only pretty much for monsters. You can argue Imperm can negate There Can Only Be One, which is really, really good because in the main deck you don't actually have any main decks out to There Can Only Be One. If your opponent plays correctly, as soon as you summon your first Tenyi monster, he immediately flips Tikaboo, so you can't even make Monk of the Tenyi, so even if you hard drew the Vishuddha, you still cannot bounce back the There Can Only Be One, so the card is an absolute pain in the ass to deal with in game 1. Anyways, now for the rest of the extra deck, Ecclesia. This card, it's actually funny, but I special summoned it a lot without actually having to use its effect because sometimes my Moye was getting Veilered and I was like, shit, if I summon Tai A, I actually can't like banish a Sword Soul or Wyrm card from my graveyard, so I can't play, so I literally had to use the Ecclesia and the Moye to synchro summon, which is a little pathetic, but whatever, it's you gotta do what you gotta do, right? Sometimes it's still the correct way to unbreak, but yeah, this card was pretty nice. Of course, the second part of the effect, where like you can recycle back from the grave to the hand when a fusion monster is sent to your graveyard, will never come up because this is not the build that plays fusion fusion, oh my god, instant fusion and Destiny will destroy Phoenix Enforcer. So yeah, and 3 Moye, 2 Taie, 3 Long Yuan, 2 Adara, 3 Shuna, 1 Shatana, and 2 Vishuddha. This is extremely standard. The Shatana actually sucked ass. I want to say it was by far the worst Tenyi out of all of them. And then probably Ashuna was ironically one of the better ones, and Vishuddha won me countless games. I mean, this card is broken. Bouncing back cards makes it so easy to win. It's actually ridiculous. So yeah, huge MVPs. Now for the spell cards, 2 Heavenly Dragon Circle, 2 Vessel, and 2 Desires. Now the really cool thing about playing 2 of everything is that you never really draw multiples too often. So some people were playing like 3 Desires with either 3 Vessel or 3 Heavenly Dragon Circle because they have the mentality of one card is strictly better than the other, so why would you play the other ones? Whereas I believe that they kind of do similar things in a way, so I'd rather have like variety in my hand so I have more options instead of, you know, breaking on once per turn cards that are also very redundant. So I do believe that mathematically speaking, I did the correct thing. I think my deck list is just overall good in terms of ratios. And yeah, 3 Emergence, 1 Monster Reborn. Please don't be an idiot who plays 0. What the heck, man? It comes up every single time with the effect of Taie, because you foolish for the Moye and then you revive it back. So if you're not playing the Monster Reborn, the Taie combo does not exist. So this is why this card is needed. It's not just a searchable Monster Reborn, it's part of the Taie combo, but yeah. And then 1 Blackout. If you play 2, it's also very good. I'm almost debating if I really want to play 2, but whatever. At the end of the day, it doesn't change that much. Alright, for the extra deck, I'm playing, of course, the Dragite, which I don't think I've ever negated a single card with Dragite, because if my opponents were either like scooping to my board, not often though, because I lost the majority of my dice rolls, if I remember correctly, and yeah, no, I barely summoned it because I was also under the Ashuna lock very often, so I can only summon weird monsters, which kind of sucks, but whatever. And then Baroness, Baxia, Chao Feng. I didn't summon Chao Feng a single time, because if you want to summon Chao Feng before the Chi Jiao, your hand needs to be the freaking stones, and no, that didn't happen to me. So yeah, very unfortunate, man. I would have loved to summon Chao Feng. This card is tier 0 against Invoke Shadal, because yeah, sure, your opponent can still normal summon Alistair, get a search, but can't use the effect of Merkaba, can't use, I think Ogoides is also a light. Yeah, it's also a light monster, so you can't use Ogoides, and you cannot use the effect of any Dogmatica monster, and I think even Elder Entity Entis is a light, so even if your opponent goes like Nidir Servant, send Entis, Kiss doesn't do anything. So the combination of Chao Feng, Chao Feng for light attribute because of Baxia, and Archimedes Protos called Dark is absolute GG against Shadow Invoked. No way your opponent can play through it. And then Draco Berserker of the Tenyi, Ruddy Rose Dragon didn't come up a single time. The Draco Berserker of the Tenyi actually won me a game because it can attack twice and gains a huge amount of attack. But ironically, the effect to like banish an opponent's monster when it activates its effect never actually came up, because I think I was especially using this card to break my opponent's board rather than to serve as an interruption. Because like I said, I didn't go first very often in the YCS. I was losing a lot of dice rolls, or I was making my full board to get Dark Rulered or get hand trapped to death. And yeah, 2 Chijiao, the Chengying, the Yazi, which I never even considered summon. I mean, it's not even that I didn't consider, I never really had the luxury of being able to summon Yazi. It's so broken. Like, there are so many combos that lead to Yazi, like Long Yuan and Ashuna is an evil combo. It's like a 2-card combo that completely kills your opponent immediately, and I never really had the opportunity to do it, so very unfortunate. And then Draco Masters of the Tenyi with 3 Monk and 1 Shaman came up 10 billion times. Even the 3rd Monk came up so often. The Shaman came up just almost once every match at this point, and Draco Masters of the Tenyi only came up once against Evil Twin, so shoutouts to Ethan if you're watching this video. My side deck was also pretty on point. I want to say almost every card in my side deck was a card that I really don't regret playing. So Pankratops was okay overall. It wasn't great against anyone. I think I would like to play... no, you know what? Yeah, Pankratops is probably a card that I would still be playing because it's a dinosaur, so if I'm locked under like whatever Wyrm, I can still summon this even under there can only be 1. So this is why I like this card quite a lot. 3 Droll, which is the best hand trap against Layerless Tri Brigade. Nibiru actually sucked like there's no freaking tomorrow. Like, this card does nothing. There were so many formats where I was like, so many matchups where I was like, I can side Nibiru against you, but I really just don't want to. Like, it's so subpar, so I'm not a big fan of Nibiru at all, this format. Cosmic was great, way better than Lightning Storm or whatever, and so I'm really happy I played Cosmic and not like any other back removal. Duster would have been good as well, sure, I can see that. And yeah, 2 Anti-Spell, 3 Evenly, and Imperial Order. I don't think I've resolved Evenly, because I don't actually really can think of many matchups where I want to side this card in. Because right now, everybody is summoning Apex Avion instead of the Wind Bear statue in Layerless Tri Brigade. So Evenly is not single-handedly a 1-card out to the board, so that's kind of problematic. And yeah, so maybe I'll actually change Evenly in the future. Change Nibiru because this card is just not good at all. I'm sorry to everyone who thinks Nibiru is good, it's just not. And yeah, the Evenly still has a place to exist. It's good against rogue decks and good against a lot of decks, to be honest. It's just that I didn't play against that many decks. So I played against 3 Layerless Tri Brigade, 1 Shaddoll Invoked, 1 Sword Soul Tenyi Mirror, 1 Evil Twin, what else? Oh my god. 1 Sky Striker, Phoenix Enforcer. Shoutouts to Casey if you're watching this video. What else? Phantom Knight. Shoutouts to Kevin Rodriguez. Not Distant Coder, but another Kevin Rodriguez. But yeah, anyways, that's pretty much it for my kind of analysis, I guess, review of my YCS experience. Like I said, it was really, really good. This motivates me so much to, like, keep going competitively speaking and just travel to more YCSs overall, because like I said, I purely lost to myself, so I really have to work on my technical skill, and I really appreciate getting like kind of punished, I guess, for my misplays, because it's, you know, it's the best way of, you know, reminding myself that I'm not perfect, that I really have to work for that win. I can't just be entitled to something I didn't really work for. So I really appreciate, like, you know, just this experience overall. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.